Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. All right, third hour, kick it off right now on this Tuesday morning. Thanks for hanging out with us and making us part of your starts. Coming up in about 15, 20 minutes, we'll switch gears and chat some Badgers with Mr. R.J Cardinal. We'll talk some hoops. We'll talk some hockey with him, get some football updates with practice and that. So R.J. will be joining us here in about 15-ish or so minutes. We got more Brewers talk on the docket. We'll talk some Brew Crew with the Brewers game 2 of their series coming up tonight. We get Jacob Mizorowski versus Garrett Groschetz. So we'll preview that and kind of go back to last night's game and rehash that a little bit. But I want to kick off this hour talking, continuing to do our Packers Draft Prospect Countdown series. So let's switch it up a little bit because we've really been focusing on the defensive tackles in the corners. And now we're starting to get a little bit more about the top 30 visits. Draft prospects that are visiting Green Bay. So I want to switch it up a little bit because a couple of interesting names popped up here. And I want to start with, let's go to the offensive side since we haven't done that before. Mike Washington Jr. He's a running back from Arkansas. Now, on the surface, you're probably thinking running back. You got Josh Jacobs. They do have Marshawn Lloyd, but I think that's the part here too. Is we talk about a lot with baseball with Garrett Mitchell. Guy can't stay healthy. We don't know what to expect yet from Marshawn Lloyd. We don't. I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay gets a running back in his draft, maybe early day 3, possibly even day 2, maybe back end day 2. And, well, let's take a look at Mike Washington Jr. He's got some speed. He runs a 4.3 40. Began his career at Buffalo, then went to New Mexico State, and then Arkansas. Lance Erline says he's made stops at 3 different colleges and showed improvement with each move to a new school. He's fast with loose hips and adequate agility. He's not very sudden in tight quarters and is a step slow to see it and go when the hole opens. He can glide and swerve around interior traffic once he's on the move. He has breakaway speed in the open field and is capable as an inside-outside runner. Running to his size with a greater degree of aggressiveness will be key as he makes the jump. Washington has traits and talent to become a solid rotational back. Size-wise, he's got that size you'd like to see in a running back. 6'1", about 225 pounds. Now, his production score at the Combine, according to Next Gen Stats, wasn't the greatest. Production score, he ranked 17th among running backs. But his athleticism score was a whopping 95, which was best for second overall. So his total score averages out to be Combine rank 8th among running backs. So one of the comps that is being thrown out there is a Chris Carson type of running back. I got to throw it out to you Packers fans. Would you have a problem if Green Bay drafted a running back day 2 in rounds 2 or 3? Would that be a move where you'd be like, man, why did we have to do that so early? And to be honest, I'd probably have that same mindset too. You know, looking at the current roster right now, looking at where it's kind of put together. Feel like there's other needs, specifically defensive tackle, corner, maybe some offensive line depth before I'd probably look at running back. But with no Emmanuel Wilson, they did bring back Chris Brooks. Still have Josh Jacobs up there. And, you know, he played banged up quite a bit. He's pretty, he could go out there and he'll play hurt. But I think it took a toll a little bit last year. It's such a big wild card with Marshawn Lloyd and his health. If Marshawn Lloyd was able to stay healthy and we're able to see him on the field and to see what he can do, then we're probably not talking about a potential running back pick at day 2 in rounds 2 or 3. Probably not discussing this. And I'd still be a little surprised if they were to do that. But I'd be like, yeah, I kind of get it. I kind of get why they're doing this. They want maybe a little bit more protection in case Josh Jacobs isn't able to suit up, in case he gets banged up again like last year. We don't know what we have with Marshawn Lloyd. They may want to protect themselves a little bit. But would they do that with such a high pick? I mean, they did it before with A.J. Dillon, right? I mean, we don't have to look that far back on history. They had Aaron Jones. They had Jamal Williams. What did they do in 2020? They drafted Jordan Love, and then they drafted A.J. Dillon. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. Another player that reported, I mean, there's been a few. We're only going to do a couple here today, but we're going to go. Let's really change it up here, and let's go with a wide receiver because Nick had texted in earlier on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line saying, what would your reaction be if the Packers drafted a wide receiver with their first pick in the second round? Okay, I'll be honest. I probably wouldn't like it. Now, I don't know what the board would look like. I don't know if they're in a position where you just draft best available, whoever's the best person and such. You got Watson, they're going to re-sign, or they're going to try to re-sign. You got Matthew Golden, you still got Jaden Reed, and maybe they want to add some more depth with the possibility of a Jaden Reed leaving and Dontavian Wicks and such, possibly even Christian Watson if they can't. I'll say if they draft a receiver with their second round pick, then I question whether they're going to really focus on trying to lock up Christian Watson long term. That's what I would feel like. That would almost be my reaction. That they're not going to lock up Watson or Jaden Reed long term, and they're preparing themselves for that move. That honestly would be my reaction to that. But then you're putting a lot of eggs in the basket of Matthew Golden. Maybe they feel like, let's lock up Dontavian Wicks. Maybe probably get him by quite a bit cheaper when it comes to contracts and such. But Green Bay did bring in a wide receiver for a visit, a deep threat. And that's Anthony Smith. Okay, he's from East Carolina. Now, I don't feel like this is going to be a day 2 pick for Green Bay. But he spent, first of all, 4 seasons at North Carolina State. Then he went to East Carolina. He's a 6'2", $197. He caught 105 passes for over 1,800 yards and 13 touchdowns, including 64 catches for over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns last season. Going up against Pittsburgh in the Military Bowl, he caught 4 passes for $156 and 2 touchdowns. He has a 4.45 40, and it is possible, when I was reading a little bit, he could go undrafted, so he's not going to be a day 2 pick here for Green Bay. But is it something that maybe they could sneak in at the back end of their draft? Possibly. But I think, going back to Nick's question, if they were to draft a receiver round 2 early on, I just wonder if that signals that they're not going to be able to lock up Watson, and they know it. That maybe that money is just too rich for them. Look at the receiver contracts that have been handed out recently. It's a lot of cash. It's a lot of coin. So, yeah, And then I just wonder if they feel the same about Jaden Reed potentially. It's risk. And that's the thing, too. Like, I wouldn't mind if Green Bay on day 3, rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, if they go target a wide receiver there, because I liked what they did during the Ted Thompson era of always keeping the cupboard full of wide receivers. They always had depth. And I know we always, at that time was like, man, there's only one football to go around. They're going to trade one of those guys. They're going to move on. And they never did. It was just kind of a natural progression. Donald Driver was the veteran. Greg Jennings ended up being number 1. Greg Jennings leaves. All right, next up, you have James Jones. You got Jordy Nelson. You draft Randall Cobb after winning the Super Bowl. You had a depth of Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, James Jones, Randall Cobb, and then you throw in Jermichael Finley at tight end. Jennings leaves, move on up. Next man leaves, move on up. James Jones leaves. It's Jordy Nelson. It's Randall Cobb's time. Then you add in a guy named Devontae Adams. They were just ready for that natural progression. And then they kind of got away from it. And then Goody was stuck trying to draft 3 receivers. Day 3, Equinemius St. Brown, Jamon Moore, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, because they didn't have any depth. And then they were back to it. None of those guys really worked out. Valdez for a hot minute, but their highest one, Jamon Moore, didn't work out. Then you're back to Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. And then Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs in second year were their veterans. So that's honestly, Nick, how I would kind of feel if Green Bay were to draft a wide receiver for the first pick. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll switch gears here and chat some Badgers with Mr. R.J. Cardinal. He's coming up after these quick words. All right, let's switch gears here and chat some Badgers with our good buddy, Mr. R.J. Cardinal, down in Madison this morning. First off, happy Tuesday, R.J. How you doing, bud?
Oh, pretty good. Like we talked last week, my bank account and my heart was with Michigan winning it all. So looking pretty good right now. I won a local establishment's pool and then took second in the office pool. So
nice.
Got a little cash coming my way, but makes the Tuesday a little bit better.
Hey, it's better than me. I had all Final Four teams, and I still lost because I had Arizona beating UConn. So thanks, Michigan, for screwing that up for me.
Wow.
So
never go against the Big Ten. It's the power conference of the NIL right now.
Right, there you go. So, well, let's lead it off with some hoops. Yesterday, John Blackwell going out there and making the announcement that he's going through the draft process, also entering the transfer portal, so his Badger career is officially in the books. And, well, you mentioned Michigan. I know Tom Izzo has always kind of mentioned the last couple of years, hey, the one guy I really missed out on was John Blackwell. Blackwell doesn't go to the draft, man. Does the state of Michigan seem like the likely choice for the Michigan guy?
Apparently, it's the state of Michigan or Illinois. So we'll see. It's fun to point out that even last year they said they were going to stay with Wisconsin because nobody else recruited him. Literally, nobody else recruited him for power conferences. But it's something that we've had both Zach Heilprin and then Ebo on our shows have said they've heard upwards of maybe $7 million is going to be what it takes to get John Blackwell. And that's a guy who, in his 3 years here, has been the number 2. Despite or whatever anybody thinks, Wisconsin doesn't have that kind of money to throw around, even $5 million, because of the way NIL is set up to disproportionately go to football. And Greg Gard's basically doing it all on his own in terms of getting boosters to help back basketball. And, he's done pretty well in the portal of replacing some guys who have left. But, trying to replace 19 points per game could be a little more difficult than, just bringing in one guy. So it could be, you're losing the seniors. So you've got to replace 3 guys there. You're replacing Blackwell. They've already got a Australian point guard who committed. So we'll see how that goes. I think everybody was under the impression that John Blackwell was hitting the portal. And so it really hasn't come to a surprise of anybody who's been covering the team or has been close to the team. But it's now official.
Right. So anything else in terms of, because the transfer portal opens up today, and it's such, I mean, have we heard any more Badger players potentially entering it since the last time we talked to you outside of John Blackwell?
Not yet. I think the rumor within the athletic department is Nolan Winter is staying. So that's what I heard through the grapevine, not a direct source, but a source through a source. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. Nothing as of yet of anybody else hitting the portal, but knowing how it goes with you and I, usually around 10 o'clock, we hear some news break, and then we just have to wait a week to talk about it.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. So let's switch over to hockey, shall we, RJ? So let's talk a little men's Badger hockey now that we're just a couple days away from Frozen Four and such. How are you feeling about this matchup for the Badger men's hockey team?
It's going to be a tough one. I still do like, because, I mean, even growing up not too long ago, before the Big Ten hockey was a thing, this was one of the series you had to be in attendance for in the WCHA days. So it's awesome to go up against a, I guess, quote unquote, familiar friend, even though I'm not sure the last time they've actually played North Dakota, but fan bases, at least, it really seems like there's still hatred there. So it's good to see. Just looking at that North Dakota team, having watched a couple of games this year and then really diving into the numbers, as long as Wisconsin, I think, can stay penalty free and play some solid defense, they should be able to hang with North Dakota and, even have a shot at winning. It's kind of like the regional right now, though. I don't think anybody outside of people who have covered Wisconsin and really know the depths of, when your top 2 centers are out for an extended period of time, 2 of your top 4 defensemen were out for an extended period of time. The Badgers are getting healthy. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from the health-wise there. And I think so some of the numbers that, Wisconsin, at least in scoring defense and things like that, penalty kill and whatnot, might be aided by the fact they were missing people. So their numbers are a little disproportionate there. But still, it's one of those, I think if Wisconsin can stay clean, they can hang with North Dakota, and it should be a good game. If we see penalties mount up, North Dakota's got a pretty potent offense. They're averaging almost 4 goals a game. Wisconsin's not too far off, but they're pretty sound defensively too, with under 2.5 goals given up per game. So, when your scoring margin for North Dakota is upwards of 1.5, that's a good place to start. So I know Wisconsin has the skill. A lot of North Dakota's team is younger than Wisconsin, so hopefully some of that more aged experience, not necessarily in the Frozen Four. The staff has a lot of experience in the Frozen Four at a different school, so hopefully that'll help things prepare for Thursday afternoon. I think it's just by what I've seen so far in the NCAA tournament, I think it should be a pretty decent game, one way or another. But and I mean, I'll already say it. I'm going with my heart here, picking Wisconsin to make that to make the finals. And then I think if Michigan can beat Denver, we've seen Wisconsin hang and handle Michigan multiple times this year. So I think it's another one. Like we were talking, the regional, I liked how it was set up because Dartmouth, for what they were not in the same class as Wisconsin. Wisconsin, when they were fully healthy, handled Michigan State on the road. So I liked the regional there. Outside of the talent and the draft picks, Wisconsin has draft picks too, just not as young as North Dakota's or as highly drafted. That always doesn't translate into an automatic win, But I kind of like the setup because at least when fully healthy, Wisconsin has shown they can hang with the number 1 and number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament throughout the season. And I just think it's a distinct possibility Wisconsin can and should be able to compete and end up in the championship game and have a good chance, as much as any of the other 3 teams that are in it, to be a national champion at the end of the come Saturday.
When we look at the tenure of Mike Hastings, you look at the first year and it was awesome. Last year, I know there were some fans that were disappointed, upset with how the season went. I know you and I talked about it a lot of talents, had left and such. Now year 3, at the beginning of the season, we talked about what are the expectations and such. But what is the narrative like down in Madison, or what's the talk like for Badgers fans down there with Mike Hastings? Because I feel like year 1, it was like, oh, dude, this is awesome. Year 2, they were kind of down. It almost reminds me a little bit of Greg Gard in essence too. But what is the talk like about this program, but also under the direction of Mike Hastings?
I think they kind of threw out year 2 now, and people, at least who follow hockey, recognize what happened this year in the middle of the year when you lost 6 in a row and you were missing 3 to 4 players that were key to being what you were. And it's generally positive when most people, as they're going through, just say, well, as for much as McIntosh is doing wrong, he's gotten the men's hockey hire right. So I think people are on board and see where this is going. And it's one of those people like Mike Hastings. They see the positive side of what's going on here. And, getting back to the Frozen Four, since the first time you were in the national championship game and lost to Boston College in 2010, it really shows, at least now visually, that things are going in the right direction for the men's hockey program. And, you get a win here, even showing up in the national championship game, that'll probably help boost recruiting to some extent here, to the point. And I guess Mike Hastings really isn't necessarily a true freshman kind of coach. A lot of his players have come from both at Mankato, and now some of the people we see coming in as freshmen to here at Wisconsin come from the USHL, and now, with the major juniors in Canada being able to be a part of NCAAs now, even though they were getting paid, that'll change. I think he'll be able to get some of those guys in here, as well as now we're seeing guys from Europe who have been playing semi-professionally or professionally over there, coming to Wisconsin now too. And they're doing pretty well in their respective leagues. So I think it'll just be able to put Wisconsin back on a map, to be able to bring in some of the top talent and kind of keep what what's going on. And I mean, the good thing I think you can say is really in college hockey right now, the Big Ten is looking like one of the premier conferences, even with only 7 teams. And I think as long as the Big Ten keeps playing well, we could maybe even see an expansion in college hockey to other schools within the Big Ten footprint to add hockey. They just need a huge donor to help support that. That would probably have to put up men's and women's hockey. So it still could take some time, but I think movement could be pushed forward by the conference to say, hey, we got to build this to make things a little bit more vast for the conference, to have more opportunities to play. I mean, when you can go through your conference schedule and you play everybody fully twice, where some conferences have more than 7 teams, it gets a little incestuous later in the year, where you're not really playing a wide variety of teams. But I mean, I think it's proven that when you have Penn State, Michigan State, and Wisconsin, 4 of the top teams in the country right now, it's looking pretty good for the conference. So hopefully it can build some momentum to adding some more teams into the conference. But overall, the success of Wisconsin is good for hockey. And I mean, even though they're in top 4 historically in there, they're technically a blue blood, I'd say, but it's been a little bit since they've had some respect put on their name, if you will.
Moving to football, and this is something I blanked on asking you earlier and such, but so a couple weeks ago, maybe even a few weeks ago now, Badger football hired Brady Ewing as their director of alumni football relations. And I know, the last couple of years, we've had a lot of alumni, use social media to vent their frustration towards this football program and such. Was this a hire to kind of help alleviate those relationships? And I can't remember, RJ, was Brady around when you were around with the ball club? Did you guys were you in the same pathway? I can't remember if that timeline fits.
Let's see. I think his freshman year was 2010, so I was gone already.
Okay.
But it's from every player I know that I've talked to after the hire. It's everybody loves the hire because he's one of those guys who's an ultimate Wisconsin guy. He's from the state, grew up wanting to be a Badger. Is one of those, if you want to call it, a Mr. Badger. And now that he and Casey Robach are on staff, you have 2 guys on the staff now who have played there, understand where we were, and understand what it is to be a Badger. And I think that's good. And it's not just a hire for the alumni. It also is a hire to help get more ins on the high school coaches in the state. And I mean, his job isn't just getting the alumni back in here. It's getting the high school coaches to trust this program again for one reason or another. And I think what we're seeing in this recruiting cycle, you get 8 of the top 10 kids in the state to commit to be a Badger for 2027 as of right now. I mean, you're not going to get the one kid, Flanagan, out of Notre Dame, Green Bay, Notre Dame. I mean, his dad played at Notre Dame. His brother is at Notre Dame right now. They extended an offer, but I mean, I think it was one of those, hey, we got to make it look like we're doing something here. So you get 8 of the top 10 kids in the state in a year that's pretty deep in talent. And I mean, I've talked about it past couple of years. The state talent hasn't been viewed as deep, and some of the kids that they lost to other schools It typically in a year, even Wisconsin, when they're running, weren't going to get offers from the Badgers. Like, that's the kind of recruiting cycle that's been hit. And then there were a couple where, kids weren't going to come to Wisconsin even if they got an offer. So the staff, instead of, doing the polite thing and extending an offer, just didn't do it. And that's the optics kind of bad there. But I think with this hire, it's telling to the alumni on what, and I think they already did something with it where they're starting like a little alumni chats that it's a Zoom call with Fickle, and it's like a state of the program kind of thing. I don't know how often that's going to happen, but they've done that already. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of things Brady Ewing ends up doing as he's rebuilding bridges for football alumni and within the state with the coaches and things like that.
RJ, to kind of wrap it up here, because since you were talking about that, and I've seen some people kind of mention, going back to basketball here for a second, and the need for a coach or the need for a change of philosophy to keep in-state talent, to do better of in-state recruiting. And I don't know, RJ. I mean, I look at that as, I remember when I was 16, 17, 18, and such. And I don't know. I guess I look at it, one, it's different because money talks. I think that's obviously a big thing too. But, I mean, is it a big thing for 17, 18-year-old basketball players, I guess in this instance, to stay home and, it's pride to play for Wisconsin? I don't think it's, I imagine myself, hey, I wore a North Carolina hat when I was a 17-year-old, and if North Carolina came recruiting me, I'd be intrigued with that because that was like a cool team and such. And I don't know if there's many players like a Sam Decker or a Bronson Koenig who are going to stay home and play for their state team. Is it as something as simple as Greg Gard and basketball? They got to do a better job of keeping in-state recruits, or is there more to it? Like I feel like it's the money, but also, is that a big thing for kids anymore these days to stay home and play for their state team?
I really don't know if it is, and for the longest time it was, the style of play Wisconsin runs isn't conducive to attracting anybody within the state, even though, you are a state that doesn't have a shot clock and you play the four corners like almost all the time. And it's, the slow pace was what I think was okay for the state. You just had people who never saw anybody go to the NBA from it. And it's honestly one of those, Greg Gard has made the change. Now you see Wisconsin putting up 90-plus points a game. And they're offering kids within the state. If those kids don't want to come here, it's definitely most of it probably not looking forward to playing at Wisconsin while growing up, because the change has been made in philosophy. That should start getting these kids to look at it and at least put Wisconsin on their radar. But like you said, if North Carolina comes calling, I mean, maybe not right now, but if Duke comes calling, if like some upper echelon team that really has the backing of boosters and things like that, it should be noted. I mean, if there's times where there's just not going to be talent within the state that they're going to be able to get, like Khan, like that just wasn't going to happen. They offered him, it just wasn't going to happen. So they're offering these kids, but they're going elsewhere for one reason or another, and it's really to the point where I don't know what the NIL deals are in place and things like that at other schools. I can tell you Wisconsin's not on par with a lot of the top schools in in the country, and I probably never will be. So it's one of those, you got to pick and choose the kids that come, and maybe they want to come, and during, I guess, negotiations now, the numbers don't line up, so they're choosing elsewhere. And it'll be interesting to see how that happens moving forward. But I mean, the way you see this offense running now, the people who, at least that aspect of it, I think people can say, like, back even a few years ago, well, they're not even looking at it here because they run the swing offense. All right, well, they don't do that anymore. Why aren't they coming now? And then you see them going to some top programs in the country, and you can look at it and just say, Wisconsin can't pay those kids.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're in-state kids, I mean, more power to them when they go elsewhere. And I think we've seen very few and far between when they do leave. Not a lot of them end up producing at the level that everybody thought they would, and they still get upset about it.
Yeah.
So, there's very few and far between that those guys end up being NBA superstars. And, you can count a handful of them in the past 10 years, I think. And then I think there are more of people who, have gone elsewhere and kind of floundered. I mean, you have an example of Tyler Hero, who committed here and then on signing day got an offer from Kentucky and just said, see ya, and doesn't understand why the state isn't happy with him.
Right.
Still to this day, don't get it. Halliburton, for some reason, hates Wisconsin, even though everybody knows, like, through circumstances, and Tyler Hero's the reason he's not here. They had a scholarship for Tyler Hero, so they didn't extend one to Halliburton. And like, so that's a case where they didn't offer a guy because they had a guy. And then that guy says, whoop, see ya. And then there was a late pitch to be like, hey, come on, play at home. And then he was too upset with Wisconsin at the time to even consider it and went to Iowa State. So there's like so many things that come behind, like, reasons why. And it's on both sides. Some guys, they choose not to extend because they knew they wouldn't come. Some guys, they offered even though they know they were going to end up somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And and sometimes somebody said yes and then left.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. There's circumstances for everything. But now I think, like I said, change in philosophy happened. We'll see if that ends up getting anybody to stay. I mean, they got Will Garlock, so there's that.
Mm-hmm. I think Khan is like the big one, right? Because, I mean, you got the family and such, and the younger brothers, coming up. But it's like you said, yeah. I feel like people assume Wisconsin, it almost reminds me of the Diamond Stone thing with Bo Ryan. I feel like people just assume Wisconsin doesn't offer any of these guys. Well, I mean, more times than not, they do. It's just, like you said, they don't get them, or they know they can't get them.
Yeah, and like the whole Diamond Stone thing, when his AAU team switched to Under Armour and he ended up at Maryland, I wonder what happened there.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Yep. Exactly. So, good.
And like a lot of people in Madison point to Wesley Matthews, who ended up at Marquette, but he didn't want to play at Wisconsin to be in his dad's shadow. His dad played at Wisconsin, and he wanted to make his own, even though his dad was also Wes Matthews, he wanted to go have his name be something at a different school. So he went to Marquette so his mom could still go to all his home games. And I mean, there's reasons for everything, but it's, they used to get some in-state kids. Like there were a lot, under Bo Ryan, but we'll see how it goes.
Yep. I agree. RJ, good stuff, man. I know we kept you a little long here this morning, but we appreciate it, dude. Hopefully we're talking more Badger hockey next week in a good way, too. So enjoy the week, man, and we'll catch up soon.
I absolutely love that.
Right? Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it. There you go. There's R.J. Cardinal joining us here this morning. We got to take a really quick break, but we'll be right back after these few words.